Hi, Fletch. Just ask you about, well, obviously playing Tom Brady. It's tough to blitz him because he gets the ball out so quickly and knows where he's going with it. So that really makes it imperative that the pass rush get home with four. How do you think the rush is done overall this season from start to finish, would you say?
I mean, I think we maybe started a little slow. Obviously, as the season go on, everybody gets better, and I think here lately we've been rushing really good as a group and taking advantage of the rushes when we actually get a chance to rush as a group, third and long or whatever the situation may be or present to us. But I think for us, just rushing as a group collectively and just holding each other accountable, I think is always the biggest thing when it comes to basically rushing in the quarterback, no matter who it is.
Go ahead, Ruben, then Bo.
Fletch, what do you think has gone into that improvement since maybe the first half of the season as far as pressure? How's it gotten better?
I mean, you look at it. Obviously, first game, the first part of the season, obviously from we lose BG and I started rushing with Josh, and it ain't like just riding a bike. It's like learning how Josh rushes, Josh learning how I rushes. Obviously, Javon and Derek do a really good job. They've been rushing together for 2 years now, so they've got that everything to understand the way that each other rush. And when Ryan's in there, obviously me understand how he rush. I think all of that just goes in with time, and I've learned that over the years. It's just yes, they're all good rushers, but you got to know how each other rush, where you think he'll be with this certain look or protection or whatever the team is giving us. So I think that's really kind of what's been put into it.
Go ahead, Bo, and then John McMullen.
Hey, Fletch, Nick Sirianni has talked about how much credit he gives to the leaders of this team for you guys turning things around over the second half of the season. I'm curious from your perspective, how much credit would you give him?
A lot, a lot. We talk about it all the time. I have conversations with him all the time, and he always asks me what's the biggest thing, that I take away from, actually just being a leader and just being like, one of the guys in the locker room that guys look up to. And I always tell them, the calmer I stay, coach, the calmer they stay. And I think, that those few words goes a long way. The calmer he stay, the calmer we stay. We always talk about those type of things and never try to let anything never let a moment get too big for us where, we get out of character. You just stay calm and the guys around you stay calm, and I think it all works out.
John and then Zach.
Hey, Fletch. This looks like it kind of shapes up as a strength versus strength matchup. What do you see with that Tampa interior line and Jensen and Marpet and Kappa and those guys?
I mean, they're good up front. We're good up front. I think it's going to come down to, what team can execute, what side of the ball can execute the most. I think our biggest thing is, when we played them earlier in the year, they're a different team now, and then we're a different team. We kind of found our identity as the season went on. So, I'm really excited about it. I know it's a good matchup for us up front, and we're accepting the challenge.
Zach and then Martin.
Hey, Fletcher, the last two times you went to the playoffs, you guys had to make a late run. You were dealing with things health-wise. Having that clinched now and having last week off, how do you feel physically going into this playoffs compared to the last few times?
I feel good. Obviously, I was out last week with COVID, but like I said, I didn't get hit too bad with it. Just had a little sniffy, little runny nose, and obviously the body was healing. So I feel great. I feel like it was a bye week for me. Obviously, you want to be here with your teammates, but things do happen. Came in the building Monday and, feel great. We could go on the field today and run around a little bit more and just prepare for the game. But as far as health-wise and as far as fresh, physically-wise and mentally-wise, I feel ready to go.
Is it fair to say you feel better than the last two playoff runs going into it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm not as banged up this year as I was last year or, late in the season normally. Like I said, it's helped me, especially last week having that week off. It's helped me. The way they've managed me this year as far as practice, game reps, and, my time just physically just being on my feet and, taking all the hits. So, you got to give a shout out to, all the coaches and the strength staff, everybody for understanding and, just knowing, like, we're going to make a run. Our best guys need to be healthy.
We have time for one more before we get DeVonta. So go ahead, Martin.
Hey, Fletch. Speaking of not playing last weekend, obviously in your place, guys like Milton, Tehran, and Marlon were able to play. I was wondering like what you think about like how valuable that kind of experience was for them, and also like if you talk to them at all about what it's like playing in the playoffs. Thanks.
I have talked to a couple guys about it, especially guys, Milton and Tehran, and guys just really haven't, that's their first playoff game in the NFL, But obviously, I told them, everything is moving just a click faster. People are the block. You're seeing the blocks, and everything is a click faster. Double teams are quick harder. And it's the truth. It's like everything just speeds up in the playoffs and get turned up a notch. So those guys are prepared for it. I know mentally and physically, and I'm excited for them.
DeVonta, what did you learn about Jalen Hurts and the way he responded in 2018, specifically in that SEC championship game when he came in the second half and drove you guys to victory?
I think it shows his character. I mean, just the type of guy he is. He's not going to run from any situation. He's going to compete no matter what. Him just always being ready when his number is called.
Go ahead, Martin, and then Dave.
Hey, DeVonta. A lot is made obviously about the Buccaneers experience compared to like, you and Jalen and other guys never playing in an NFL playoff game. But, back when you were a freshman at Alabama, you caught the game-winning touchdown pass in overtime, and you had the big game, last year in the first half. I mean, what is it about playing in these type of games that kind of get you going? And how do you kind of like deal with all the other outside stuff going on around such a big game?
I mean, you got to know what's at stake. It's when I go home. You win, you advance. You lose, you go home. So, I mean, that's kind of the main thing. But, I mean, it comes down to what we do as a football team. Not about them, just how we execute our game plan, how we do our techniques, and the fundamentals of things.
Go ahead, Dave, and then Bo.
Hey, DeVonta, I know Nick's really tried to stress that it's kind of prepare like a normal week, but for you going into big games, does it ever feel different? Do you treat it any differently?
Nah, it's the same thing for me. I mean, it's the next game. Just feel like another game to me.
How about in even like pregame warm-ups and everything?
I mean, treat it the same. Won't do nothing different. My regular routine I always do, I'm going to stick to it.
Bo and then Tim.
Hey, DeVonta, we saw some of your tweets during the national championship game. Would you say that like watching Alabama games is as emotional as you get?
I mean, that's just watching football in general. I mean, as you watch things, you see things that people are doing, and you try to put yourself in those situations just to see what would you do, how would you react to it. So, I mean, that's just watching football in general.
But you're not like that when you're just on the sideline watching a regular game, right? That you're playing in.
I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, you putting yourself out there.
Go ahead, Tim, and then Zach.
DeVonta, when we were talking to Bruce Arians yesterday in reference to you and Jalen, he said that they've played in bigger games than this one, with the national championship. But do you view it that way? I mean, how does entering a playoff game feel versus the week leading up to a national championship, as an example?
I mean, for me, honestly, it feels the same. I mean, it's the next game, win or go home. So, I mean, attack it the same way I attack any other game, any other week.
Go ahead, Zach, and then Ed.
Hey, DeVonta, what was your biggest takeaway in watching the film from the Week 6 game?
I think it came down to communication a lot. We wasn't always on the same page that week. A lot of plays we wasn't communicating the calls and things like that. So I would say that's a big thing, just making sure that we're communicating and everybody's on the same page.
Are you better in that area now?
Most definitely.
Ed and then Jeff Mosher.
Hi, DeVonta. Sort of along those lines, do you think it's any advantage to having played Tampa earlier in this year as far as, familiarity with their personnel goes?
I feel like it helps, and I mean, it also makes it harder at the same time. It helps because you kind of know what the team does. It makes it harder because you can't go out there and do the same things. You have to switch things up, different techniques. You have to do different things.
We'll take two more here. So go ahead, Jeff Mosher, and then Jeff McLean.
Hey, DeVonta, in the first game, they didn't have a couple of guys in their secondary, Winfield, of the two cornerbacks. Are you seeing anything different in how they play since some of those guys have come back compared to that first game?
I mean, as individuals, everybody plays differently. I mean, those are two different guys. They're going to play to their strengths. So as individuals, they definitely play a different style.
I meant schematically from a team style of defense.
I mean, whatever the DC calls, that's what they're gonna run.
Tom Brady, obviously, you've gotten an opportunity to face him in the past, and we all know his history, his resume. What, as a secondary player, what makes it so difficult to play against Tom Brady typically?
Yeah, I think Tom has seen it all. When you have that much experience, you have to do just a little bit more as a defensive unit to try and, create some indecision, right? And then, of course, we understand that he can throw the ball anywhere on the field, and is just a competitor at the end of the day. He finds a way to will his team regardless of who's out there. He's a great leader as to why he's recognized as one of the best. So, we understand the task at hand. We're going to have to execute at a high level because that offense executes at a very high level because of him. So we're going to have to do our best at, creating some indecision, and then just really competing. When you look on film and you've seen teams who have been effective versus him, it's just a relentless effort and certain level of intensity that those guys are playing with and are finding ways to just make plays on the ball. There's going to be opportunities, and we just have to capitalize on them when they come our way.
Ruben and Josh.
Hey, Rod, Nick's practices are short. The Wednesdays have been walkthroughs the second half of the season. Training camp practices, you were out there, you weren't working, but they're crisp and short. How much do you think all of that has contributed to how you feel? Fletcher was just talking about how he feels better at this point than most years late in the season. For the veterans, the older guys, how much of a help has that been?
Yeah, it's a help, especially as you get to this point in the latter part of the season. Just a couple extra periods off really saves your legs on Sunday. So it's something that I think initially a few of us were worried about because we aren't a fairly old team. We're a younger team, right? And so just making sure during those walkthroughs, guys are taking it serious and locked in for that period of time, but it's paid off for us, and we have a very mature group of guys who understand the task at hand and are true professionals. So it's credit to the players on this team for being able to have a schedule, like this, and still be able to execute on Sundays and win.
Well, what was your concern? Was it that you weren't getting enough work as a group?
Yeah, I think either that and then just the focus level. You go through our walkthroughs from week to week, and sometimes it can become redundant. Or you have a walkthrough period for 20 minutes, and you have a great walkthrough for 15 minutes, and then somehow the focus level slips for the last 5. So those are the things that you just worry about, especially, like I said, when you have a younger group. But, man, this team has, like I said, been true professionals. We understand when it's time to work, it's time to work. And so that's credit, like I said, to every man on this team, and it's paid dividend for us.
Go ahead, Josh, and then Chris.
Hey, Rod, how's it going, man? I wanted to get your perspective on what Mamba mentality means to you. And Nick shared with us that he reshared Kobe's message to the team early in the week.
Yeah, I when watching that video, it took me back in time when we won the Super Bowl because Kobe was right in front of us and somebody that I idolize and respect as a player and as a man. And I think he really just talked about the little things matter. When you get to this point, when you talk about now in the playoffs, don't allow the moment to be bigger than what it is, right? It's the same for him. It's the same basketball court that he's been playing on since he was, a young man. For us, it's the same field that we played all season, right? The biggest thing is just the details, how we execute our preparation, making sure that, we let nothing slip by when we have these walkthroughs, when we're out on the field during practice, because those things will ultimately come back to hurt you. Fixing issues in the past that, that you didn't necessarily do as well on. So really just listening to that message and us just being able to pay attention to the details, and not allowing the playoff or our emotions to necessarily get the best of us, but focus on that. And if we do that every single down, reset our mindset, and execute at that high level, we'll be right where we need to be.
We have time for. Oh, go ahead. We have time for one more, so we'll go to Chris and then we'll get Lane.
Hey, Rodney, you've been through a few playoff campaigns now, and you guys have rookies like Teron and Milton Williams heading into their first playoff campaigns. Who gave you, so when you enter your first playoff campaign, who gave you some advice that you still use today that you can impart into some of the rookies?
It was guys like Malcolm and Chris. Those were two guys that we leaned on heavily as not only a defense, but as a team to kind of voice, how do we get to that point that we're all seeking. And that's, a championship. They both had the opportunity to win. Chris being with the Patriots before he came here, and then Malcolm with the Saints. And it was just what I spoke about, and not allowing the moment and your emotions to get the best of you. Not feeling as though I have to be the guy to make that play come, Saturday or Sunday, because I've dreamt of this moment and now it's my opportunity to show who I really am. It's like you will show who you are by just doing your job, by having the same level of preparation that you've had since we started this season. Don't switch anything up because now it's the playoffs or now it's the Super Bowl. Just be who you are, because that's good enough. That's gotten us to this point because of that. And it's for us just to never forget, and a reminder that, man, it's just the next game. It's just the next game. Like, nothing's changed. It's same white lines, same, it's 11 versus 11. And the only thing is, man, it's more people watching. That's it. But outside of that, the fundamentals, the technique, the focus, the calls that you have to make don't change, because that will ultimately affect whether you win or lose.
Elaine, obviously you didn't play in that first game against the Bucs, and I think Jordan was at right tackle and Andre was at left tackle, and it seemed like the offensive line was kind of in flux back then. I mean, how much are you kind of looking forward to getting a shot at them, and especially with the way the offensive line has been playing like the last couple months?
Yeah, really just trying to be consistent. I think Rodney talked about it earlier, is just trying to not be over emotional in this game, just worry about our assignments and take it play by play. And whenever you do that, I think you put yourself in the best position to win.
Go ahead, Zach, and then Jeff McLean.
Hey, Lane, I saw you put something out on Twitter wearing a dog mask. I know you guys are big underdogs this weekend, obviously. Is that a message internally? And where physically is your dog mask?
I don't even know where the dog mask is. I got to find it, maybe in the basement somewhere. But yeah, I thought it was funny. One of my buddies sent me that last night, so I thought it was funny.
Is that a message this week? Is that something you guys are talking about, being underdogs?
No, not even really talking about it. I mean, really, come down to it. I mean, the big message is just not become emotional with the game or where we're at or anything really. It's just one day at a time, and that's where we're at.
Go ahead, Jeff, and then Bo.
Lane, you've spoken before about Jalen Hurts and how steady and almost unemotional he can be. This week, though, obviously the intensity is increasing. What have you seen so far out of him? I know it's only been one practice, but what have you seen so far?
Pretty much the same. Like I said before, no, he has fun. He just he just has his own way of showing it, I guess. But he's a very serious guy, and at the quarterback position, you got to be. So really, nothing's changed as far as demeanor. I mean, it's been the same consistency really all year.
Bo and then Jeff Mosher.
Hey, Lane, to circle back to that Week 6 matchup, were you able to watch those games? Were you in a place to be able to watch those games? And what was that experience like for you?
I didn't watch any football. I watched the game when I got back. So later, I mean, it was a few weeks after, but yeah, I didn't watch any football during that period.
Thank you.
We'll take two more and then get Anthony Harris. So go ahead, Jeff, and then John McMullen.
Hey, Lane, can you just describe from your experience the difference between a regular season game and a playoff game? Like the
Go
feeling
big or
of
go
it?
home. Go big or go home, baby. I mean, that's really where it's at. Yeah, like I said, man, you're trying to get caught up in the hype and everything that's going on around you. But with that said, it is hard. So just trying to eliminate the distractions and try to have a good Thursday practice today and move forward. So I mean, really, in the NFL, man, any NFL game is a big time game. Just this one may mean a little bit more.
Thanks.
Go ahead, John.
Hey, Lane. Jason was talking yesterday a little bit about Todd Bowles, and you guys didn't cross here. You guys missed each other by a year, but you played him a bunch of times. What does he do that makes things so difficult for an offensive line?
I think he's just really good at creating matchups. This NFL is always about creating mismatches. So, for our D line, man, it's one of the best, if not the best in the league. So, really all the way across the board, interior D linemen, edge rushers, linebacking core, really top unit in this league. So, it'll be a real big challenge for us.
Hey, Anthony, obviously with going up against the Bucs and Tom Brady, would you say what you do schematically is more important, or what you guys do as far as just being technically sound, each individual is more important?
I think our focus has been just being technical sound, playing together, just having supreme belief in what we're supposed to be doing and where we're supposed to be, and then just locking in on the small details of the game and the coverages and where we're supposed to be, and just flying around, having fun, just cutting it loose.
Go ahead, Rube, and then Chris.
I just asked Rodney this, so I'll ask you the same question. You are 30, even though you're barely 30. How much did the shorter practices, the Wednesday walkthroughs, 90-minute practices in training camp, how much did that help you guys as far as being sharp and healthy and feeling good, and even sitting out the Dallas game, going into the biggest game of the year?
Yeah, I think the coaching staff, the weight room staff, and trainers and everybody, they've been doing a great job of working together, communicating with the players, taking into different areas on how can we improve. And I've been feeling pretty good all season. Just adjusting, new city coming in. For me personally, it was just, getting the right resources around me, whether it's, getting contacts from massages and different recovery things and creating my own personal routine. But outside of that, I think the team has been doing a good job of, communicating and taking care of us.
Go ahead, Chris, and then Zach.
Hey, Anthony, you've been through a couple playoff runs yourselves when you were with the Vikings. What areas do you feel like you can add and help out with some of these young players when it comes to what to expect in the playoffs?
I mean, I think you could just share whatever knowledge that you have. That's just talking about the atmosphere, what that's going to be like. But, at the end of the day, reminding them that, when you go out there, it's just football. It's something that we've done the entire season. We've played the game. All we have to do is just focus in on, just the football aspect of, being where you're supposed to be, not really focusing on the magnitude of the game, but ultimately just enjoying the process day to day and just staying locked in and where you're supposed to be and being where you're supposed to be.
Zach and John McMullen.
Hey, Anthony, I know you got a pick in that first game, but as you went back and watched the film this week, what jumped out about the team's defense that night? And what's one thing you need to do better on Sunday than you did in week 6?
Yeah, I mean, we just have to have better execution, all around. Earlier in the season, guys are out there playing, giving it out their all. But now here later in the season, particularly in the postseason, people are playing their best ball. There's been a lot going on in terms of, that experience and growth. So we have to come in this game very focused on where we're supposed to be, executing, communicating, being on the same page, and we can't afford to do anything to beat ourselves and just force them to beat us.
Go ahead, John, and then Ed.
And Gronk wasn't there the first game. What kind of difficulties does a player like that present for a safety in this league? And how helpful is it to have somebody like Dallas on your own team that can, give you that kind of presence as a tight end?
Yeah, I think if you take a look at those type of guys with the body type, the ability, what they can do downfield, catching, running routes, creating separation, strong at the catch point with contesting their passes and things of the sort, makes it very tough. But obviously, what they're able to do in the run game in terms of being able to block and that dual threat, keeping you honest, I think that's what makes those guys successful at this level in terms of their size, their speed, the knowledge of the game, being able to recognize the defensive coverage and kind of put themselves in an open window to give the quarterback opportunity to fit the ball in.
We'll take one more here, so go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, hi, Anthony. Just want to ask you about Steven Nelson. I know Slay gets a lot of the publicity on the one side, but, how much has Nelson come in? Has he really helped this defense kind of button things down on the other side?
Yeah, Steve's done a great job in terms of just coming in each day, being focused. Just continue to come in, learn, work on his craft each day, day in, day out. And then just having fun. What he's been able to do for us in terms of playing opposite of Slay this year, he's been very helpful. Also helping with the young guys, pulling everybody else along. So I think he's not really focusing on, any outside noise, whether it's, playing on a 1-year deal or any other things of that sort. He's really just focused on enjoying the game, enjoying the room that he's in, and everybody just trying to work to be the best players that we can be.
Alex, in terms of pre-snap motions and shifts that Tom Brady has long used to figure out coverages, is it worth trying to disguise it versus the confusion that it could cause in the secondary in terms of what assignments are?
Like you said, he's used it forever, so he knows what's going on. Like anything, he's really a coach on the field. He understands, what you can be in. If you're disguising something, too much, and so we're gonna, obviously use a little bit of both. Obviously, we're gonna disguise when we can in certain things, and obviously if they're moving guys all over the field, it's just kind of be where you need to be and, be in the right spot to make a play more than, disguising a coverage.
Jeff and then Martin.
Hey, Alex, I'm wondering, in New England, Tom Brady, I think most people know, threw to his running back a lot, guys like James White and all the way back to Kevin Falk. It doesn't seem to be something he's done with the Buccaneers a lot with Gio Bernard. But is that something that, as you kind of prepare for a matchup, that you always have in the back of your mind, even though they're not doing it, that is an area where he's been, kind of a specialist in his career?
Yeah, and I wouldn't say they don't at all. I think Leonard Fournette, when especially, how we play him a lot, if you take everything deep away, he does find the checkdowns. And so I think just with the Bucs, they're using other guys for checkdowns sometimes. And I think with the Patriots, they were, they really heavily focused on their backs getting out of the backfield. But so he is still finding those checkdowns. And yeah, so we know anytime those backs kind of get out, once he's reading through his progression, if everything's covered, he's definitely going to get the ball to those guys.
Are those checkdowns just kind of part of what makes him a backbreaker? Really, I mean, people think of all the explosive plays, but I always think of him as doing that.
Yeah, I think, this league and football has become such a, throw the ball over the top, score a lot of points. You can't drive down the field in 12 plays and win a game. You can't do that consistently. Well, this is a guy that's proven for, 20 plus years that you can do that. And if you if you're at the level he's at where you can win a game like that and people aren't going to criticize him, they're not going to criticize the OC, they're going to, praise them for how they won that game. And so he knows that they can do that. And, he's not afraid to do that, unlike, most of the NFL.
Go ahead, Martin, and then John.
Hey, Alex. I was wondering how big a loss is it for the Bucs not to have Chris Godwin? I mean, obviously as a wide receiver, he also like can, run the jet sweep. He can block and everything like that. Like, how big a loss is that for them?
Yeah, I'm sure, they're going to have guys, ready to step up and play. But, yeah, it's a big loss. Everyone knows how good, Godwin is and what he was able to do for them. And, we're going to obviously not have to prepare for him, which is kind of nice for us.
Thanks.
Go ahead, John, and then Tim.
Hey, Alex. You kind of talked about making Tom do a little bit of indecision, if that's possible. When somebody gets the football out as quickly as he does, where do those two things weigh as far as is that pre-snap from Tom? How do you disguise that? Or is the ball just coming out no matter what?
Yeah, and that's kind of, I guess on the point of where I said, we don't, if your disguise is going to take you out of, being in the right spot, you don't want to be, if he's hitting the right spots, it's better to be, on your guy or on your man, making a play on the ball, even if he read the coverage right. Because we know the holes, he might know the holes in the defense, but, at this point in the season, we understand the holes in certain coverages that we call. So if we know he knows it and we know it, it's just kind of who's going to make a play on the ball. Yeah, and so if we can, obviously we want to disguise it so he thinks the hole is somewhere else that we are covering. But if not, we do understand where the holes are if we got to line up and play and we know he's going to find them, quicker than most. So it's just, get on that coverage, get on that spot, and know where he's trying to get the ball to.
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, Alex, you mentioned that, Brady excels at being able to take what the, defense gives you. You guys usually like to prevent the big play. So kind of what's key for you guys to make sure that you have a better outcome than you had in the first matchup with him?
I think, it's going to kind of do the same things on stopping the big plays. I think on Monday, it was 6 or 7 of the explosive plays that we go by, which, is something that, we've harped on all season, stopping the explosive plays. I think the biggest thing for us will be, creating more turnovers. I think it's kind of been when we've had great weeks as a defense, we've caused a lot of turnovers, giving the ball to the offense a lot. Weeks that, we've kind of, I think, sputtered as a team because we haven't gotten turnovers is, when the defense isn't getting turnovers. So if we create that, I think it obviously gives our offense a lot more opportunity to score, and it takes their offense off the field, on more drives.
We'll take one more here. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, hi, Alex. Obviously, Tampa has 3 very good tight ends, maybe the 3 best you'll face this season. And tight ends has been a tough matchup for this defense. Over 1,000 yards when you look at it, 13 touchdowns. Why do you think that has been the case?
Taking away the outside guys, obviously, with the guys that we have, and really, staying, I think a lot of it is, keeping the top and just kind of, they're finding the checkdowns, which, I wouldn't have known that it was, was that. So I think, these 3 guys are special. Obviously, we're going to, have to, take them out of the game. Obviously, Gronk and those guys, they're special. They're special players. Most people wouldn't just consider them tight ends. So, obviously, we're going to have to do, certain things to be able to take them out of the game.